What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday to you all. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online. Stream it up at sportstalk1051.com. Download that Sports Talk app. Take it on the go. What else we got there? Your smart devices, your smart speakers, video streams are up and rolling in multiple locations. We've got YouTube. We've got Facebook. Instagram and Twitch. I was going to say TikTok there, but Twitch over there too. So, but a happy Tuesday to all of you this morning. Appreciate you making us part of your start here. What do we got on a game plan for us this morning? Well, since it wasn't in yesterday, I want to talk a little Packers after that dominating win over the 49ers on Sunday. Few things I want to hit up here. Talking about that particular win. Kind of a little Victory Tuesday coming at you here this morning. But I want to talk a little bit about this running game from the Packers, what we've seen so far from this unit. Josh Jacobs, Manuel Wilson's been pretty solid too in his limited action. Seen a little bit from Chris Brooks in that. But I want to talk about the uniqueness, the creativity surrounding this running attack from the Pack. Also talk a little bit about the defense. I'm sure probably a lot of you already heard this nugget, but the defense, Packers defense, doing something specifically. The Packers run defense doing something that nobody has, or they did something in a game against San Francisco that nobody has done in a very, very long time. But the Packers ran. Josh Jacobs, specifically, was the first player in the past 55 regular season games to rush for 100 yards against the 49ers. At that point, it was the longest team had gone without allowing a 100-yard rusher since 1955. The Packers doing a pretty darn good job of limiting Christian McCaffrey in that run game against the 49ers too. So, but I want to talk a little bit about that since again we were out or I was out at least yesterday. So, talk a little green and gold, and specifically got to give some flowers to a certain player on the defensive side after we've been pretty darn critical with him, and I think rightfully so too. But got to give him flowers too. If we're going to criticize, going to call out some of his play, got to call out some of his really good play too. And I thought he perhaps had one of his best games of his career. Tell you who that is coming up in just a little bit. So we got Packers talk, and it's a quick turnaround, obviously, for the green and gold with their Thursday night game going up against the Miami Dolphins. The Packers did not practice yesterday, but if they were, these were just based off of an estimation. Okay, Jair would not have practiced. Edrin Cooper would not have practiced. Romeo Dobbs would not have practiced. He's in concussion protocol, along with Isaiah McDuffie would not have practiced, and John Fitzpatrick, backup tight end, would not have practiced. So I believe they'll be getting in some work here today and then a little bit tomorrow in preparation for their game again Thursday night, Thanksgiving, against the Miami Dolphins, another team that is playing well as of late after they got their quarterback back too. So what else do we got on the docket here this morning on the game plan? We're going to talk a little Bucks. Bucks are back at it tonight against the Miami Heat group stage as part of that NBA Cup. But the Bucks are playing a lot better as of late here too. They've won 4 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, and with a win tonight, they'd be back to 500 at 8-8, and they're back up in the standings in the Eastern Conference. As it stands right now, they'd be 9-9. Did I say 8-8? 9-9. But as it stands right now, the Bucks are the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. Way too early, obviously, when it comes to playoff standings and such. But again, wasn't that long ago they were towards the bottom here, and now going 7-3 in their last 10 and winning 4 in a row, they've put themselves back into that upper portion of the Eastern Conference. One thing that I'll be curious about, this is a road game for the Bucks, and this is where their biggest struggles have been so far, has been on the road. Just 1-6 so far this season when they've played outside of Milwaukee. They're 7-3 at home, but 1-6 on the road. So, and they also have a losing record against conference teams. They're currently at 6-8. So, be a good test tonight for this Bucks team. And Miami right now, 7-7, is one spot ahead of the Bucks in the Eastern Conference standings. So we'll talk a little hoops coming at you. It is an ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. So what's grinding your gears? You can let us know. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, with anything that's grinding your gears. And since we missed yesterday too, we could do a little I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Since we missed that yesterday, let's do a little bit of that today here too, right? So hit me up with your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. We're going to talk some Badgers with RJ Cardinal coming up in a couple of hours. Badger basketball continuing their awesome start to the season, still undefeated after their tournament, little holiday tournament run this past week. Did you see the clips? I mean, they're playing in a hotel ballroom. I mean, it looked really, really weird. So, but in the latest AP poll rankings, Badgers up to number 15, ranked number 15 in the country. So, we'll talk some Badger hoops. Marquette, by the way, now in the top 10. They're at number 10 in the latest rankings here. We'll talk Badger hoops with RJ. We'll talk some Badger football. It is a Grind My Gears Tuesday, so I got to imagine there's a lot of you Badger fans right now that, I mean, I saw it at least on Saturday nights on social media, venting about Luke Fickell and this Badger football team, but coming off of a 44-25 loss against Nebraska, you've got one more game coming up on Friday, going up against the Gophers. Don't know if where's that meter on the Luke Fickell era? I mean, was it just like before last year? He was probably, if we do a Q rating, he was up there. There's a lot of, Badger fans pumped, excited, bringing him in and seeing where the program was going to go, the direction of the program is going to go. And boy, I mean, you're coming off of perhaps your best defensive performance going up against Oregon. And then you follow it up by giving up 44 points to Nebraska. Yuck. I mean, come on. So we'll talk to all things Badgers with Mr. Cardinal coming up in a couple of hours from now. So all right, let's get things rolling here this morning because we have lots to catch up on. So again, you can start to hit us up with some text if you'd like on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or on the video streams and social media and all that good stuff. I want to open it up by talking a little green and gold because, again, didn't get to chat with you all yesterday about it. But I want to specifically talk about two areas. One, got to give a shout out to a player who, let's just call it what it is, has not had a great season. I thought maybe his best, I don't know if we say best game of his career, but it was definitely, I think, the best game of the season for him. But also the running attack from Green Bay and Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs getting a lot of flowers after his performance, and rightfully so. But I want to deep dive into this running game a little bit more outside of the box score numbers out there. So let's just do it right now. Let's take a very quick break here, and then we'll get the leadoff rolling here this morning. So I want to jump into it. Been waiting a couple days now to talk a little green and gold with you all. So let's do it. All right. Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes to get things going with the leadoff, talking a little green and gold. Today, from about 10 a.m. to noon, while supplies last, we're going to be handing out some turkey. So if you know of anybody, or maybe that's someone's you, family that could use turkey for this Thanksgiving, we're going to be handing some out again 10 a.m. to noon at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire today. So stop on by. Crew of us will be towards the front of the store at Hy-Vee there once you walk in. The set of doors, kind of where the fireplace is at. So I'm assuming that's where we're going to be at, because that's where we were at last year over there. So stop on by, grab a turkey, and hopefully everybody has a very, very happy Thanksgiving coming up just a couple days from now. So, all right, let's jump right into it, because, man, I was pumped about this game. So I watched the first half sitting in the tree stand, watching it on the phone. Volume down, no volume. No deer either. That's going to be coming up in a grind my gears, trust me. But so I watched the first half in my stand there on the phone. Got out, got back to a TV to be able to watch the second half there, and so I was just pumped watching this game. I mean, you could tell Green Bay just wanted more, right? You could tell. The other part of this, so it is grind my gears here. So the other part of this too is I'm tired of hearing the excuses from 49ers peeps or others making excuses for the 49ers. Yeah, they didn't have Brock Purdy. Okay. Yeah, they didn't have Bosa. They were dealing with some injuries. Tough, you know what? That's part of the game. Nobody was going to make excuses for Green Bay with no Love weeks 2 and 3 and Malik Willis, who had just gotten there. And, even Jacksonville finishing off that game. I think it was Keyshawn Nixon after the game even mentioned it. It was like, hey, we played with our backup quarterback for 3 games and we won all 3 games. The NFL. Okay. I don't care. Yes, a lot of teams, you lose your starting quarterback, you're going to take a hit. That happens. Your chances of winning going to go down. That's going to happen. But at the same time, it's a weak excuse. Okay. To me, it's a weak excuse. And a little bit of weak excuse. I don't want to be over dramatic, like just, how do I want to say this? Like hard-headed Packers fan or anything like that. But my fanism's coming out here a little bit, because, we lost our quarterback for a couple games and he's been banged up, and, we were able to go through it. We were able to stay alive and win some ball games and such. So while I get it, losing some big players, your talent is going to take a hit. That is going to happen. But it just seems like that was a lot of excuses coming out of the woodworks for this game. So, yeah, do better. Just do better. Anyways, back to the game itself. So, just felt like Green Bay wanted this one. I know a lot of the guys talked about, the playoff appearance and where the 49ers last year obviously knocked them out in that, and maybe that provided a little bit of motivation and such. It could. I'm sure it did a little bit there. But I want to specifically talk about a couple things from the game on Sunday. And so let's start it off with the running attack. So Josh Jacobs, obviously, when we talk about free agents, Packers, I think it's fair to say Packers nailed their free agent signings this offseason. Brian Gutekunst nailed them. So Xavier McKinney got his 7th interception. We've talked a lot about it, especially at the beginning of the season when he was, getting interceptions left and right every single game there. And then Josh Jacobs, that side, I think, surprised a lot of us if we go back to our memory banks and go back to the opening day of free agency or legal tampering, whatever it was. And it came out, I was like, Josh Jacobs, what agree? It was like, okay. All right, we got Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones, and then Aaron Jones gets released. And there was a lot of Packers fans. A lot of them chimed in on this program. Didn't like the move, hated the move, that essentially we were subbing in Josh Jacobs for Aaron Jones. And I get it. I think a lot of us, I have yet to see a Packers fan or meet a Packers fan that didn't like Aaron Jones. We get it. Understand. But we are seeing a different style of running, different philosophy with Josh Jacobs there. I don't think Green Bay's able, and this is not a knock on Aaron Jones, it's just the type of runner that these two guys are. I don't think if you sub in Aaron Jones right now with this offense I don't think you're seeing a lot of the stuff that we are seeing in terms of this running game. Green Bay, top 5 in rushing, but we're seeing some grinded out. You look at, those games where Jordan Love missed. I mean, Josh Jacobs put the team on his shoulder, put the offense on his shoulders, and that's how they win a game. And everybody in the world knew that they were going to run the football, and yet you couldn't slow them down. Credit to the offensive line for doing their jobs and doing a fantastic job at that too. But we are seeing why Goody and the Packers looked at Josh Jacobs and ultimately brought in Josh Jacobs. His style of run, I mean, he forced 15 missed tackles against the 49ers, for crying out loud, and then was the first rusher in 55 games to go over 100 yards against the 49ers. That's a credit to Josh Jacobs, but it's also a credit to Matt LaFleur. We are seeing different things. We are seeing creativity, a uniqueness in this running game that I don't know the last time we saw some of this. I mean, is it just straight up old school I formation, fullback in the backfield, turn around and you're handing it off. You're seeing so many motions. I mean, there's sometimes in there. If you're watching these last couple games, you know what I'm talking about. Where, I mean, how many fake handoffs to like 2-3 different guys is there? I mean, it's just one sweet little smooth motion. It's a snap. It's a fake handoff to a wideout. It's another fake handoff to somebody else. And then Jordan Love hands it off to Jacobs. And then boom, you got like 7 yards off that thing. There's so much misdirection and trying to create confusion on the opposing defense. It's like, dang. So I know, last week we played a clip from Dan Orlovsky from ESPN, and he talked about this was before the game against the 49ers, the creativity from this Packers run defense, and gave a lot of credit to Matt LaFleur. And I think you saw that on full display against the 49ers. And to me, again, this is my fanism coming out here a little bit, but I was sitting there watching this game, and I'm like, this would be so perfect if Matt LaFleur and the Packers offense just decided to, against the 49ers, we're going to run all day, every day, and until you stop it. We're just going to sit there and turn it around and hand it off, because the 49ers have done that to Green Bay how many times? What did Green Bay do? They ran the ball for 42 times and only passed 23 times. 42 times, 26 of those carries coming from Josh Jacobs. This was an offensive game that reminded me so much of, like, when the 49ers are healthy, or those games where they would just turn around and hand it off and you couldn't stop it. Yes, 49ers racked up a lot of yards against Green Bay. I mean, I'm talking about like the Jimmy G NFC Championship game and such, where he like threw the ball 9 times or some ridiculous thing. But I'm just sitting there, I'm watching that, especially in the first half. I'm like, wouldn't that be something if because we know Shanahan would just love to run it every single time. He's talked about it. He said it. He's on record with that. If Green Bay gave them a little bit of a taste of their own Kool-Aid over there. So this is it's unique. It's creative with this offense, with their running offense. I mean, the last couple of games now, they really haven't, put a lot on Jordan Love's arm and shoulder to be throwing it 35, 40 times. I mean, you look at the last 2 games, Chicago and San Francisco. Chicago, he threw the ball 17 times, and San Francisco, he threw it 23 times. I get it. Is it the sexiest offense? Is it the offense that lights up the scoreboards all the time and all that? No, but I've got no problem right now if our focus, our number one thing on offense is running the football, because how many times have we talked about it over the years where we wish Green Bay would have ran the ball a little bit more? They've got talented wide receivers, no question about it. They've got playmakers on the outside. They've got tight ends, with Tucker Kraft. They've got those options, and you're paying a lot of money to your quarterback in that. But right now, the recipe to win sure seems like running the football with Josh Jacobs, and I've got no problem with that. I know some do. Like, they would like to see Jordan Love and the Packers offense aired out a little bit more. Just win, man. If if we're winning ball games by running the ball and Josh Jacobs is, collecting all those yards from scrimmage, I don't care how you win as long as we're winning. I don't care. And the thing is like even if they get into a game where the run game's just not working and teams are loading up the box and it's just a struggle, it's not like we don't have a passing attack. We've got options there. We know it. So it's not even a concern. If we get into a game, I'm not concerned if we all of a sudden have to oh, running game's not working today or we're going to have to throw it. I've got no concern about that because I know we can do it too. I know we can do it. I think this was probably the close. It wasn't it wasn't 100% perfect. There were still a couple missed drop balls. I mean, the Christian Watson one before the half. I mean, that was just like, oh. There's a couple drop balls over there. So still some things obviously to clean up, but that's a coach's dream to have a game like this and still some things to clean up over there. But I love what we are seeing from this run offense with Jacobs, but also the creativity and the uniqueness that we are seeing from LaFleur. All these misdirections and such. The motions, especially when you're going up against a linebacker like Fred Warner. We talked about that on Friday. Fred Warner, that's to me, one of the best, if not the best middle linebacker in football. Don't let him ruin the game and just be a playmaker all over the field. How do you do that? You do all that misdirection and motion stuff just to make him a half second slow in, making a play. And they did that consistently. Whether it was Jaden Reed going in motion and just kind of making Fred Warner pause, maybe just for a split second. A split second, though, can mean all the difference in the world. And so while I'm giving flowers to Jacobs and Matt LaFleur and that, got to give flowers to the offensive line for what they are doing. You look at numbers, if you look at like Pro Football Focus numbers, if that's one of the things you look at, Rasheed Walker, his pass blocking has been phenomenal as of late. But heading into that game against the 49ers, Pro Football Focus ranked the Packers offensive line number one. Number one. And I don't think they did anything in that game to make them fall from that spot. Number one. That's fantastic for a group. We were like, oh, okay, they spent, Jordan Morgan's a first-round pick. Eventually he's going to be a starter, but there was questions that Rasheed Walker, is he ready to go there? How about the guard? Is it going to be Sean Ryan? Is it going to be Jordan Morgan? Is Zach Tom going to move over to center? Coach Butkus has done a fantastic job with this group. Luke Butkus over there has done an absolutely phenomenal job with this offensive line. It helps that this group has been healthy, that that starting five have been healthy and able to go out there, and you have that consistency. There's no question that continuity on that offensive line is a big bonus. And knock on wood, they're going to be able to stay healthy throughout the rest of this season. But that offensive line, whether it's been pass protection or opening up holes in the running game, have been absolutely fantastic, and the numbers prove it. And speaking of fantastic, got to give some love to Quay Walker. Watching that game, it felt like, okay, Quay Walker's having a game. It felt like he was having a game. And I was just like, okay, he's kind of popping up. There's a couple plays, meeting Christian McCaffrey and taking him down right away and not allowing him to pick up extra yardages and that. It felt like, okay, this is a Quay Walker game. It looks like he's having a game. And again, if you are a Pro Football Focus believer, he was rated as the top defensive player in this game. 91.4. 91.4. That's elite. That's an elite grade. He was awesome. Awesome. in that game on Sunday. This is what we have wanted to see from Quay Walker for a long time. I think it's probably one of his best, maybe it's his best, but easily one of his best games of his career. He just finally looked like the guy that we have been wanting to see. We've been complaining about that, like, come on, first round pick. You got the athleticism. We know it. Just put it all together, man. And it finally felt like that was a game for Quay Walker. It's just one game. I understand it's just one game. But you got to hope now, and this is the hope. You got to hope. It's like, okay, we've seen him do it. We've seen him do it, and we've seen him do it. And I know Christian McCaffrey's still working his way back in that, but we've seen him do it. Can he start to build upon that? Can he, what do we like to say, stack success? Can he continue to do this at a consistent rate? You know, another guy that had a solid game, Javon Bullard. Heck, Lucas Van Ness had the 4th highest ranked defensive grade. Brenton Cox Jr. had the 5th highest defensive grade. You had guys on the defensive side that we were like, okay, we want to see a little bit more from. And they did it. And they had themselves a good game. But Quay Walker, we've been hard on him, and I think rightfully so. We've questioned, what are you doing, man? What's going on here? And the guy had himself a great game. So for all the questioning and the ridicule that we have given him, let's give him some flowers, man. That guy had probably his best game, one of the best games of his career. And it made a difference. It made a difference with this defensive effort. Yes, they went up against a backup quarterback. I get that. I understand that. But the Packers didn't play down to that competition. How many times has it felt like, man, they just played down to their competition? Should have been a game that you just went in and dominate. And then when you see the injury report come, it's like, okay, Brock Purdy's not playing. Okay, Bosa's not playing. Oh, Trent Williams isn't playing. You know, I texted a buddy of mine. I'm like, if Green Bay, you know, they got to take advantage. They just come out and dominate this game. And they did it. They took advantage of San Francisco's mistakes, whether it was fumble recoveries, interception. I mean, San Francisco screwed up quite a bit, but the thing is, Green Bay took advantage of it. They took advantage of it. And I loved it. I loved it. They didn't play down in that competition. It was fantastic to see. Yes, a banged-up 49ers team. They're not as good as when they're all fully healthy. They got a ton of talent on that squad when they're healthy and ready to go. But that's how it just works in sports and that. Especially football. Guys are banged up. Guys are going to miss time. And I was just so happy to see that they took advantage of that. They took advantage of it. Your reaction, your thoughts from the game, what stood out to you, hit me up with some text, 715-830-1912, or on the socials or on the video stream over there. I you know, not to be all of a love fest here or anything like that. This team's just fun to watch. I mean, you know, even just the little things out there too, to see, you know, when Romeo got down and, you know, he got hurt and ended up being a concussion. I don't know if anybody else saw this, but who helped Romeo Doubs off the field? It was the wide receivers. Jane Reed, Christian Watson, Wicks. I think it was Malik Heath as the other one. They all went out there. They were the ones to help him off. This group, this tight-knit group. You hear Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs was interviewed a lot after the game. And he got the game ball after the game. And he talked about this team. You could just feel, you can sense, you can feel like this locker room's tight. This locker room is close. This team overall is close. They're a tight group. And to me, I mean, it's always easy to root for Green Bay. Again, my fanism coming out, but this is just, it reminds me of a lot of these Brewers teams that we've seen over the years, this fun-loving group, a team that you can just like, okay, like the phrase goes, that's an easy team to root for. And obviously, if you're a Vikings fan, Bears fan, Lions fan, no, it's not going to be the case. But it's just like, okay, I don't feel like there's a lot of drama on this team. There's no big egos that kind of shine through on, the entertainment world or social media. And it's just, it's a fun group. It's a fun group over here. And I hope they can continue going through this for the rest of the season for a deep playoff run. It's going to get tough though with Miami coming in. They're playing well. They're playing better now that Tua's back on board here. You got a team that's trying to get in with still trying to get in with that playoff race because they're not going to win a division. I mean, Buffalo is so far ahead right now. It's like it just feels like Kansas City, Buffalo are going to finish 1-2 and anything other than that. Maybe Baltimore can squeeze up in there a little bit too, but they've got a few losses on their resume here too. But you got Miami that's trying to get back in this thing, trying to claw back into playoff contention, and they're one spot out of it right now. If the playoffs started, they're 5-6. You got Denver that's 7-5. So, I mean, Miami can't fall too much further behind in the standings. So you got a dangerous team coming in. You got a dangerous team coming in with a lot of speed. I don't think Jair is going to play, and that's going to be a loss. So it'll be curious to see how does Green Bay, from their secondary, how do they approach this? How do they game plan this one? Tyreek and Waddle and such. How do they try to slow down that speed? How do they try to limit the big passing plays, the big passing opportunities? It'll be interesting to see what Jeff Hafley has in store, what his game plan is going to be. I think it's going to be a good game on Thursday. I'm hoping, obviously, it's a good one. And then, I mean, right after that, you're at Detroit. That's going to be a boxing match. And I was just glad, too, to go back to the 41. The physicality was there. I thought a lot of times in that Chicago game, we looked a little soft. It looked like Chicago wanted it more. It was good to see Green Bay came out, laid the hammer down, and you could just tell they wanted it more. And I want to see that the rest of the season. I want to see a team that comes into these games wanting it more every single week, not just once in a while, every single week. All right, let's take a quick break. Your thoughts? Hit us up with some texts and such. We'll continue our little green and gold talk. We've got Badger chat. We've got some Bucks. It's a Grind My Gears Tuesday. We'll even do a Tuesday version of I'm Not Saying, I'm Just Saying. We want to make Christmas extra special for some kiddos this year, so we want to take them Christmas shop. We did this last year for Backyard Dreams, and want to do it again this year. Big thanks to Fleet Farm Mills Fleet Farm. They're going to let us do some shopping over there. Nominate a kid, though. If you know of a child, or maybe that child is in your family, or whatever the case may be, if you think, you know what, it's just been maybe kind of a hard year, a little bit down, or they could use a wonderful 2024 Christmas. We want to help that out. So nominate a child by going to sportstalk1051.com and clicking on that fan cave tab, scrolling all the way down. You'll see the icon there. Or you can also head to aroundthe715.com because it is a part of our best holiday ever. And you can click that icon over there too and sign up that child. Nominate that child that could use a really good Christmas this year. So we're going to be taking the kiddos shopping. It's going to be on December 10th. But nominate those kids. And big thanks to everybody who has supported Backyard Dreams this year, because this is one of the events that we're able to take some kids Christmas shopping, is because of everybody who has supported Backyard Dreams this year. Again, more details, sportstalk1051.com or aroundthe715.com. C-Bomb, welcome back. El Capitano, what a game. Yes, San Francisco played like poo, but we took advantage of every mistake. Signs that they are pulling it together. Get this dub Thursday, and it will make me believe in a deep postseason run. Arrow pointing up. This is exactly what I expected out of Josh Jacobs. This is why I was pumped when they got him. I love 33 to this day, but Jacobs does it all, and he is available. Plus, 4 years younger than Jones, Jacobs keeps the defense honest all 3 downs. I will go back to, again, Indianapolis and Tennessee, when everybody and their grandmother knew that Green Bay wanted to run the football with Malik Willis in at quarterback. They weren't going to throw it a lot. Everybody knew it. I don't think, and this is, again, is not a knock on Aaron Jones, because Aaron Jones is one of my favorite players of all time. I love that guy. Sucks he's wearing purple, but I love that guy. But I don't think you can lean on him to carry your whole offense like the Packers have done in certain instances in a lot of games this year with Josh Jacobs. You can tell me if I'm wrong. That's fine. That's your opinion, that. But honestly, Josh Jacobs is a bell cow. He is a bell cow. He is that running back, that player where you could say, man, lead us to victory. Go do it. Jacobs can do that. I don't think Aaron Jones, and that doesn't make him a lesser player. He's a great player in certain situations, and I mean, credit to the Vikings. They're doing a fantastic job with him. Green Bay did a really good job with him. It's different this year. It's a different style. It's a different system. And we're seeing a team that is leaning heavily on Josh Jacobs right now. So much so, in fact, I've seen some people say, is he the best running back in Green Bay since, Ahman Green? I mean, to me, that does a little bit of a disservice to Aaron Jones. I understand why people are saying that or feel that. I get it. I don't know if I'm there yet. Okay, let's get through this year and maybe a couple more years in that. But is it fair to say? So C-Bomb said, this is exactly what I expected of Josh Jacobs. Well, I'll throw it out to the rest of you Packers fans, and I genuinely want to hear from you, and I'm curious. From what you have seen from Josh Jacobs, has he already exceeded your expectations for this year? Has he been a pleasant surprise? Maybe you were one of nope, I don't agree with bringing him in over Aaron Jones. I think it's not a good move. Has that changed? Or maybe, has he already exceeded your expectation? Okay, this is better than what I thought it was going to be. I mean, we could throw Xavier McKinney into this thing here too, and yes, he's getting paid some big bucks to be the top receiver, but or top safety, but 7 interceptions already. I mean, Goody just seems to have nailed this with the free agency. I mean, do you even want to throw Brandon McManus into that equation too? I mean, lining up for a 51-yard field goal. Now it's just kind of, I don't know. I feel a little bit more confident when he's out there. When McManus is out there, you throw in Malik Willis making that trade. I mean, you've got these guys. Jacobs, McKinney, and I thought Kenny Clark said it exactly right. Jacobs and McKinney are propelling this franchise right now. And he's exactly right. These two guys are propelling this franchise, leading this team right now. But you throw in Malik Willis, the addition of him, and then, Brandon McManus right before the Texans game, week 6. All 4 of those newbies, whether it was free agency or via trade like Malik Willis, all 4 of those guys have done at least a couple of things, not just one thing, but a couple of things to help lead their team to W's. Obviously, McKinney and Jacobs have been a part of every game, and they've been, big-time moments there. But you look at Malik Willis, with the Colts and Titans game, and then coming in with Jacksonville game, McManus, Houston, and Jacksonville, the game winners over there. I mean, these guys, these newbies, they've all had a part to play and big parts to play in wins this year. So, I mean, I think a lot of us, we got to tip that cap to Goody, to Brian Gutekunst, Packers general manager. That guys, his decisions seem to have worked out, at least in the free agent market. I know some people are still maybe grinding their gears about some draft picks and selections over there, and I get it. I understand it. I mean, your first couple picks this year, Jordan Morgan, I don't know if we're going to see him at all again this year. And then, you got Lloyd, who's been banged up, just bad injury luck over there too. But, I mean, at least Evan Williams, a mid-round pick, he looks pretty darn good. Javon Bullard probably had his best game of his young career this past day. So, but, man, a lot to like there. I'll admit it. I'll answer my own question about Josh Jacobs. I didn't think it's exceeded my expectations a little bit. Now, I think we all thought, okay, you got a guy that you can kind of leave out on the field. That was what we talked a lot about when they signed Josh Jacobs. That's a running back that you can leave out on the field, 3 downs. You're not subbing in, different guys and maybe kind of tipping what you're going to do on this drive or in this certain formation or on this certain play. Josh Jacobs was kind of that all-around guy that you can leave out on the field, getting those tough yards, getting involved in the passing game and such. He was your bell cow. But I'll admit it, I think he's, and what this factoring in the creativity and the uniqueness from this running game, it's exceeded my expectations a little bit. I mean, I probably wouldn't have picked Green Bay to be the 3rd best rushing team in the entire league, heading into week 13. And that's where they're at. Baltimore number 1. I think everybody would have probably picked that when you have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. Or Baltimore's actually number 2 now, and then you got Philadelphia at number 1. But Saquon Barkley over there is having a fantastic season. You throw in Jalen Hurts with his mobility. Yeah, Green Bay number 3, just edging out the Detroit Lions. Green Bay is averaging 151.6 yards on the ground. Detroit, with their 2-headed running back, with Gibbs and Montgomery over there, 150.8. And not to take away anything from these teams, but you look at it. Even at number 5 with the Commanders. You look at, and to me, Saquon Barkley is having an MVP type of season. I think you're going to start to see, at least you should start to see his name mentioned more as an MVP guy. But you look at a lot of these guys, I mean, rushing, Jaden Daniels is leading the Washington Commanders in rushing with 556 yards. Then it's Brian Robinson at 537. Okay, we know Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. With Philly, your top 2 rushers, Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. Green Bay, it's been pretty much the Josh Jacobs show over there. Kind of where it's been. They, at least, their second leading rusher on this team is not their quarterback. It's Emmanuel Wilson at 312. And then Malik Willis comes in at 137, the 3rd leading rusher of this team. Then it's Jaden Reed. It's kind of been the Josh Jacobs show. And I'm okay with that. Because if they have to get into a passing attack at a certain point, they got those weapons that they can do that too. All right, keep your thoughts coming. Hit me up with those texts, tweets, all that good stuff. All right, we'll get back to them. We're going to talk some Bucks coming up in the next hour as well. We've got plenty of Badger chats here. You willing, Badger fans, to give Luke Fickell another year after getting blown out by Nebraska? What the heck to come off of that fantastic defensive performance against Oregon and giving up 44 to Nebraska? I don't get it. I don't get it. What is going on? A lot. I think I saw more people after that Nebraska game really calling out Luke Fickell and his tenure with the Badgers. So we'll talk plenty of Badgers. We got RJ Cardinal coming up at about 8:20 here this morning. Badger Hoops continues to roll. They're undefeated so far on the season. They got Chicago State coming up here. So we'll talk some hoops, throw a little hockey in there, volleyball, and all that good stuff. A lot of Badger stuff. Badger basketball jumping up to number 15 in the latest AP poll rankings. Marquette is in the top 10, though. They're at number 10 in the latest polls here. And we got that Badger Marquette game coming up in just a couple of weeks here, too. So that should be a really good game. Yeah, right now it's got Stonehill tomorrow. When is that? Is it December? It's the first Saturday in December, right? Badgers? Yeah. It's Saturday, December 7th. Wisconsin taking on Marquette. Right before that, they got number 5, Iowa State. Marks.
Hey, what's a good word?
How you doing?
Are you coming in $1 better than you were last week?
No.
Are you coming in anything?
No. This was one of the worst opening weekends I've ever been a part of.
Okay. See, I feel like it's that or somebody bagged the big one because I've seen some nice bucks, but I know more people that sat there and saw nothing.
I saw the head of one.
Yeah.
Not a buck of deer. That was all I saw.
And Siggy went out for her first hunt, and it was like complete crickets.
Yeah.
Like they didn't see it, not even the white of a tail running by.
I'm hoping with the colder temps this week that it'll start to move a little bit more.
Yeah. What do you think about sitting out there?
Hudson actually had fun.
Where's his patience threshold?
It's better than I thought it was. He was able to stay out there for half the day. So
that's pretty good. Yeah. Now, do you personally know anybody that got anything big, even if you didn't?
No. And then if you did, just keep it to yourself for now.
Oh, you're one of those.
I don't.
You don't like to hear about it?
Yeah, I don't. I don't mind hearing about it, but right now I'm not. I'm frustrated.
Okay.
Put that way.
Now,
although Hudson did get a gray squirrel.
Okay, that's good. You gonna mount it?
No, but he did say before, he's like, that squirrel is on the branch to the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah, that's a good kill.
He called it before it.
I like that. That's kind of like when you point to the outfield and you're ready to hit. Yeah, going out there. Nice. Well, good for him. Is he going to go out again? Does he like it enough to go out again?
I don't know if he'll go out this year again, just schedule-wise but yeah, he definitely will.
Okay. So, do you know anybody that got anything, though? Anything big and braggy?
I honestly don't.
No. So now if you have a bad opening weekend experience, does that motivate you more to get out during the week or less?
Motivates me more just because I'm upset.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what do you have to fill? You doing dough? You doing anything?
Both.
Oh, wow. You got to really get working, get cracking.
Yeah.
Follow
Might have
that
to go
Rainbow
with
Bridge mentality.
Brown, it's down.
Yeah. At this point, otherwise the freezer is going to be a sad state.
Yep, exactly.
My niece got a nice doe. My sister got a little buck, but she's good with the 1 kill shot. That's like, she doesn't necessarily go for trophy. She goes for efficiency, and she's really solid at that. So if she can get it down for 1 shot and done, that's how she hunts.
Yep.
And then I go freezer hunting shortly after there.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Thanksgiving? You guys got a big menu plan? Anything new this year that you're putting out?
Just typical stuff.
Man cave light.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a jar of cranberries.
Getting ready for the game.
Who's going to take it? Call it now.
Green Bay.
Okay, I'll take it.
Second hour kicking off right now on this Grind My Gears Tuesday. ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. What's grinding your gears? You can let us know. Hit us up with some texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or hit us up on the socials as well at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Casper Sports. Also, you can comment on the video streams that are up and rolling on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. We'll get back to some more Packers talk coming up here. Packers did not practice yesterday. The practice report was based off an estimation since it's a short week here. But if the Packers did practice, Jair would not have. Romeo would not have. I don't think Romeo is going to be able to play. We'll see, though. Guys have been able to come back on short weeks with concussion, but I think it's probably safe to assume he won't be. Romeo would not have practiced. We had Isaiah McDuffie would not have been able to practice either. There, he's dealing with an ankle injury and such. So Edgerrin Cooper would not have been able to practice either. So we'll see what the injury report looks like today, as the Packers will do a little bit of practicing later on in their lead up to their Thursday night game, welcoming the Miami Dolphins. So we'll start to talk about that game coming up here in just a little bit. Bucks back in action tonight. We've got tip time for the Bucks coming at you. Is it 6:30? I gotta double check here. Now I'm like self down. Yeah, 6:30 tip time for the Bucks tonight. So taking on the Miami Heat as part of their group stage for the NBA Cup here. Bucks are riding a 4-game winning streak right now, going back to their win against the Rockets, 101-100. They defeated the Bulls, the Pacers, and as of recently, the Hornets. And a big reason for that, no other than Giannis, who was named Eastern Conference Player of the Week. And when you look at what he's been able to do and what he's kind of racking up the stat sheet going up against the Hornets the other night, Giannis, 32 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Against the Pacers, Giannis, 37 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds, triple-double for the Greek Freak. Going up against the Bulls, 41 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. I mean, dude has just been on a tear here. And then the Rockets game, just a casual 20 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists. What the heck happened in that game? But Giannis is on a tear right now, playing some amazing basketball, kind of pretty much carrying the team. He's leading the league right now in scoring, number 1 in the league, 32.4 points per game. He is 6th in the league with 11.9 rebounds per game, and actually he is 20th in the league in assists, averaging 6.4 assists. 6th in the league in field goal percentage, 60.8. So 32.4 points per game, 11.9 rebounds. Let's say 32 points, 12 rebounds, about 6.5 dimes, and shooting nearly 61% from the field. Those are MVP numbers. Those are MVP numbers. One thing you'd like to see him at 60.2% from the charity stripe still. It's a little bit down from his career average. This year he's just shooting 60.2. He's a career 69.9. He was always in like low 70s here, but this year that free throw percentage kind of down here. So, but this is a game and where, obviously the cup stage and that, and whether you're into it or not, but also when you look at kind of where the standings are, Heat 1 spot ahead of the Bucks. Heat currently in the 5th spot in the East. The Bucks are on the 6th spot. But with a win tonight, that would flip flop, and the Bucks would get back to 500. They'd be 9-9, 9-9, 8, and then they'd go 8-2 in the last 10 and keep with this 5-game winning streak here. So feels like Bucks maybe starting to finally play a little bit more loose. They're a little bit more comfortable, starting to figure things out here. Obviously, with the way Giannis is playing, you're probably going to win quite a few games here. But it just, I think the arrow is pointing upward, and I think we're feeling a little bit better with this team. I like the fact that we're seeing Andre Jackson Jr. getting a lot more playing time, continuing to stay in that starting lineup. We're seeing AJ Green continuing to get minutes coming off the bench, these youngsters being big-time contributors and such. I mean, you look at A.J. Green. Is he lighting up the stat sheets with scoring? No. But A.J. Green in his last 4 games, starting with the Houston game, 29 minutes, 27 minutes, 23 minutes, 25 minutes. And that Bulls game is when he had 18 points. And pretty much all of his points are coming from three. He's shooting it from distance there. He has been their three-point guy. But he's also been providing a nice defensive he's been a nice defensive player for this Bucks team that's, I think, surprised a lot of people so far this year. And it's a credit to A.J. Green because, he had said it the other day that he knew for probably the best shot for him to get some consistent playing time coming off the bench was going to be his defense, that he had to improve, his defense. And he has done that. He has been a nice defender over there. And then Andre Jackson Jr., his last couple games here, 21 minutes against the Hornets, 20 minutes against the Pacers. Again, not really racking up the stat sheets in terms of points, but it's a guy that I think they want to bring in for some defensive purposes, bring in some youth, bring in some speed, especially when you're going up against teams that want to push it, like the Pacers and that. We know Andre Jackson Jr. is an athletic freak that can go from baseline to baseline, and I mean he's had some sweet blocks over there too. The issue has been, can he stay out of foul trouble? And he's been doing a decent job at that as of late here too. He's been doing a decent job in his last couple games. I mean, he didn't pick up a foul against the Hornets. He did have 3 against the Pacers in 20 minutes, but that's always kind of been the knock on him in the early part of his career, is that he picks up some quick fouls right away. But I think this is maybe the Bucks starting to figure out their rotation here a little bit too. And it'll be interesting whenever Middleton does come back, how the rotation gets adjusted, like who's the odd man out. You had Prince that started the other night, Taurean Prince for the Hornets. Does Middleton come off the bench until he gets up into, game action? I think right now, you'd still factor in Gary Trent Jr., you still factor in A.J. Green, obviously Bobby Portis, unless some of these guys are part of a trade package for some other dudes out there. But when Chris Middleton comes back, whenever that is going to be, is he a guy that's going to come off the bench initially? Is he a guy that's going to just come off the bench for the rest of the season? Do you put him back in that starting lineup? Be something interesting to kind of follow here. But I think, maybe that odd man out in terms of, rotations, because we know Doc Rivers doesn't usually have a deep bench, likes to have a little bit of a shorter bench over there. Kind of wonder, as a guy like, maybe it's going to be Wright, Dion Wright, that's going to be the guy that gets his minutes cut a little bit. We haven't even mentioned a whole lot about, Pat Connaughton either, right? We haven't mentioned about Pat Connaughton. We haven't talked a lot about Pat Connaughton. And it just kind of makes you wonder, where's he at? There's a couple of games now. Pat Connaughton has not been on the floor. Hornets didn't play. Pacers didn't play. Kind of makes you wonder if maybe that's a guy that's going to be kind of on the trade block. Yeah, he hasn't been getting on the court in these 4 games. He's not been getting any playing time. Officially, coach's decision, DNP. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But I think you're starting to see them finally get into that rotation, that what Doc has finally figured out, that rotation that they want going forward. Let's talk some more hoops, but I want to talk some Badger hoops here too. Give some love to the Badger basketball team and Marquette too. Let's talk a little college hoops here. Badgers continuing to roll. John Tonje, Big Ten Player of the Week again. The guy is just continuing on a tear. When do you start? If you are a Badger basketball fan or you're a college basketball fan, when do you start to kind of get into that, all right, now I'm going to start to buy into this team? Are you already there? Do you wait till after their Marquette game? Do you wait till after Christmas? See them get into the Big Ten portion of their schedule? There's a lot to like with this Badger team. I'm still saying I think this Badger basketball team is going to compete for the Big Ten title, for the regular season Big Ten title. Purdue's going to be involved in there. You got some other teams that are kind of, in the conversation here. But I think this Badgers team is going to be a team that competes for that Big Ten title. So we'll talk some more hoops, and we'll get back to some more Packers talk. Packers fans, I've got this question for you. Has Josh Jacobs already surpassed your expectations? Has he already surpassed your expectations? What do you got? Hit me up, okay? Also taking your grind my gears. What's grinding your gears? Get it off your chest. Let us know. We'll try to make you feel better there. Quick break, and we'll be back in just a few short minutes. Reminder, we're going to be at Hy-Vee later on this morning, 10 a.m. to noon, handing out some turkeys. So if you know of somebody, or maybe that somebody's family needs a turkey for Thanksgiving this Thursday, stop on by. No questions asked. We'll hand you a turkey while supplies last, starting at 10 a.m. to noon, with our good friends over at Hy-Vee. Let's catch up on a couple of texts here. Texters saying, no wonder you didn't see the deer. There must have been 8 on the roundabout on Menominee Street this morning. Another texter saying, grinding my gears 2 days and 20 plus hours in the woods and no deer to show for it. Empty freezer, trying to keep a discouraged teenager interested. And old Mother Nature is being a real pain in the butt. Need some good vibes for all of us struggling deer hunters. Here's your good vibes. You're not the only one right now. You're not the only one. So I just really hope with this cold stretch coming in here that maybe they'll be moving here a little bit more. But sat in the rain and snow yesterday, so if I sound a little stuffed up, I was already stuffed up beforehand. I'm sure that didn't do any wonders over there. But hopefully, still got some time. Still got some time. So, all right. Let's talk some hoops. Let's talk some Badger basketball hoops. And we'll throw a little Marquette in there too, because that's the state team over there. Marquette currently the 10th ranked team in the country in the latest AP polls. And then also you've got Wisconsin moving up to number 15. Wisconsin continuing their fantastic starts to the season, remaining undefeated. John Tonje collecting another Player of the Week, Big Ten Player of the Week award, winning the Badgers winning their Greenbrier tip-off tournament Sunday nights, 7-0. By the way, anybody see those images? I mean, they played in like a hotel ballroom, for crying out loud. I mean, anyways, they defeated Pittsburgh in a come-from-behind victory over the weekend to win that Greenbrier tip-off tournament. But John Tonje, man, I mean, we didn't know. I'll admit it, I didn't know much about him. I'm like, okay, he's a transfer. He played at Colorado State. Was it Auburn? I think before that, too. It's like, okay, coming here. But this dude has been pretty darn impressive so far this season, averaging 23 points per game. That's 8th best in the country, 8th best in the nation, 5.4 rebounds per game. He is so far also shooting 95.2% from the free throw line and shooting 40.6 from 3. He's coming off of 33 points against Pittsburgh, 15 against UCF, and then of course that 41-point performance against Arizona. That I think kind of like, oh, okay, this is a dude's been in double-figure scoring every single game so far in the 7 games this season. His lowest scoring output was 13 points in 27 minutes in the second game of the season when they played Montana State over there. But John Tonje, I mean, take notice. If you have not watched a Badger basketball game yet, and I know it's probably been kind of hard, depending on what streaming or what viewing stuff you have out there. But if you have the opportunity, watch this kid play. This is a fun kid to watch. And he's getting some, I mean, John Blackwell, this was a guy that we saw a little bit last year, a youngster coming in. And I think, heading into this year, this was a guy that's like, okay, is this going to be his team? Is this going to be the guy where he's kind of the AJ Storr in that? And so far, he's been good. He's been good. He had that, was it 33 points the other nights against Rio Grande? I think it was, yeah. But between him and John Tonje, they're making a nice duo, a very solid duo between the two. John Blackwell averaging 16 points per game, and 16 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game over there too. Yeah, it was a 30 points, not 33, 30 points against Rio Grande, but he has been in double figure scoring in his last 4 games, putting up 14 against Arizona. UCF, he had 17 in that game against Pittsburgh. He also had 14 points. So between these two guys, and then you throw in, little Max Klesmit, who's also averaging 12.4 points per game. I like this backcourt. I like these three guys, these three guards, and they're bigger guards too. Max is a 6'4" guard. John Blackwell is a 6'4" guard. John Tonje, considered a guard. He's 6'5". They got some height. They got some length. To quote Jay Billis, they got a little wingspan on them. And these guys, I like it. They got height all across the board because you got Steven Crowell who's down there, kind of man in the post, the seventh or the 7-footer. Yeah, 7-footer, Steven Crowell there. And you could say, he's still kind of inconsistent in terms of scoring, I think. He jumped out against Appalachian State with 17 points, but since then it's been a little bit quiet. He hasn't been racking up a ton of minutes over there too, but you throw him in the starting lineup, you got Nolan Winter, who's been getting starts there too. That's 6'11". So you got 7-foot dude and a 6'11" dude manning your center, if you want to go old school, center power forward positions over there, but managing the big spots down low. And then you add in the guards who are 6'4" and 6'5". This Badger team's got a ton of length on them. And I'm excited to see when they can get into some Big Ten action, to see how that length benefits. That's why I'm bullish on this Badger basketball team, that I think they can win this Big Ten conference, whether regular season and the conference tournament. That's a little bit further down the road here. Purdue's going to get a lot of the attention, and I get it, and rightfully so. But this Badger team, I think, is, again, kind of in a typical Badger season, may sneak up on a lot of people this year. A lot of people didn't know what to expect, didn't know what they were going to get. Obviously, a lot of the talk was, whoa, you had A.J. Storr leaving, you had Chucky Hepburn leaving, losing two starters, two guys that racked up a lot of minutes and scored a bunch of points for this team. What's this Badger basketball team going to look like this year? And again, I think they're showcasing against the critics. And that's a credit to Greg Gard, too. Greg Gard is another guy that has kind of been ridiculed, has been ridiculed a lot by fans over the years. Been high and low. And there's still some fans that are not on the Greg Gard bandwagon. They're not on the Greg Gard train right now. And they probably never will be. But I think you got to give him credit right now. He's got this Badgers team playing incredibly well and off to a 7-0 start. A couple big wins on there. They got Chicago State coming up at the end of this week on Saturday. And then they get into a little Big Ten. They got Michigan. They do that, the Michigan. And they got Marquette, which is going to be a fantastic matchup. And then Illinois, Butler, and then really getting into their Big Ten portion of the schedule in the beginning of January there. Not to look too far ahead, but, with this Badger and Marquette game, Marquette's already favored, 6-0 to begin the season. If you look at matchup predictors, I'm looking at it on the mothership, ESPN. They've already say 70.5 match predictor in favor of Marquette. And I think what the matchup, just to give you a little bit of a quick preview between Marquette and Wisconsin, John Tonje and Cam Jones. Cam Jones, their leading scorer for Marquette. He's also a bigger guard, 6'5". These guys, physical-wise, match up really nice. I mean, you can see a lot of similarities in these games. That is going to be a fantastic matchup between Cam Jones and John Tonje. We'll get to that. Obviously, we got a lot of time there. Don't want to overlook any of these games. You don't want to lose games to like Chicago State and all that sort of stuff. But I cannot wait for that Marquette and Wisconsin game coming up here in a couple weeks. Yeah. That's going to be a really good one. It's going to be a tough one for both these teams. It's a tough game for the Badgers, but let's be real too. Tough game for both these teams. Both teams have big-time wins. Marquette taking down Purdue earlier in the season. Wisconsin taking down Arizona earlier in the season too. So, it is a change of the guard, says John, no pun intended. But the Badgers have not scored less than 79 points. It's definitely something Badger fans are not used to. It almost is kind of, and I'm not comparing the teams. I'm not comparing the talent of this team. the 2015, 2014 team, but even like those Final Four teams, we knew they were different. It wasn't just the swing offense. It wasn't just, right. That was a team obviously with Frank and Decker and Nigel and Bronson. They would get up and down the court and they would put up a bunch of points. It was a little bit different. It was something, that we weren't used to. And that season, that 2014, 2015 team, and then we'll see what this one, I mean, it's only 7 games in and such. I'm assuming they're probably going to have a few games that gets under 79 points. But that season, that 2014-15 season, they averaged 72.5 points per game. I'd have to do some research in there to see if that's the most a Badger basketball team has ever averaged in a season and that. But I think, that was a season too. If you go back 10 years, 10 years ago already, like, okay, a little bit of a different team. It's not the old school swing that we would know from Bo Ryan days or even like the Dick Bennett days. They got out in space a little bit more and ran up and down. But yeah, definitely a lot more scoring with this team. And they're making their dang free throws too. Making their dang free throws. Who had it on their bingo card, though, if we would have said on November 26th of 2024, let's say, go back to, January, February of 2023? Who'd have said that on November 26th, 2024, that you'd be feeling better about the performance from Greg Gard and the Badger basketball team than what we've seen so far from Badger football and Luke Fickell? Don't think many, if anybody, would have had that on their card. I don't know. We're going to talk to RJ coming up here in less than an hour. But if you're a Badger fan, if you're a Badger football fan, do you give Luke Fickell another year? I think he's going to get another year. But I want your fan part to speak out. Like, how disappointed? Like, is this one of the most, as a maybe just as a Wisconsin sports fan in general, when you talk about the Brewers and you talk about the Bucks and Packers and all the Badger teams in there, Marquette, whatever. But what you have seen so far in the first 2 years, and it's only been 2 years, but the first 2 years of the Luke Fickell era, where does this rank in terms of maybe the most let down, most disappointed you have been with a Wisconsin sports team? Like, where you just had such a high expectation for a team or, for a program. And it's actually gone backwards. Like you thought, because let's face it, there was a lot. I mean, yes, there was disappointment that Jimmy Leonhard was not hired. And there will still be quite a few Badger fans and people saying they should have stuck with Jimmy Leonhard. And right now, those calls will be a lot louder because hindsight is 2020. But I think the most popular theory, or not theory, the most popular thing, or what was said after Luke Fickell was hired, was like, man, I feel bad for Leonhard. I wanted Leonhard, but I'm really intrigued. Like, there was that thought, like, okay, we're not going to get a guy like a Luke Fickell. And when he came over, it's like, okay, I love Jimmy. I wish Jimmy would have got it, but this, I get it. I'm okay with it. Now it's no. And I don't think Jimmy Leonhard's coming back, by the way. Anybody still holding on to that would be a surprise. But heck, the way the Broncos are playing right now, especially on the defensive side, Jimmy Leonhard might be getting some looks at some NFL jobs in the next couple of years here, like higher jobs in the NFL coming up here. But this has got to be one of the most disappointing runs, years, eras, whatever you want to call it, for Wisconsin sports, considering the expectations and the excitement we had, right? I mean, what other big letdowns? I'm sure there's been some Packers teams. We know that. There's probably going to be some Packers teams. Was there a certain year where you thought coming in that they were just going to be, lights out Like, oh yeah, this is it, and they don't even make the playoffs. Maybe it's Rodgers' final year in Green Bay or so. Or maybe it was a Brewers season where he's like, oh yeah, this, then they don't even sniff the postseason. This has got to be up there, right? With this Luke Fickle and Badger football era that we're in. Got to be, right? Got to be towards the top, if not the top. All right, we got to take a quick break, and we'll finish up the second hour here. Again, we'll talk some more Badgers with Mr. Cardinal, RJ Cardinal. Badgers going to be wrapping up their football season. Will it continue? Well, first of all, they need a win against the Gophers, Battle of the Axe. We got Battle of the Axe, and pretty darn quiet with Badger fan enthusiasm heading into that game too. When was the last time you looked up into that left-hand corner of your windshield at the oil change sticker? Hey, it's been a while. About time to get it in. Where to go? ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire. Not only is ASAP Used Auto Parts your go-to spot for high-quality used auto parts, but also your go-to spot when it comes to new tires. Got a little bit of a taste of snow there too, so might be time to get some new tires to do some battle with some snow-covered roads this upcoming winter season. They're also your go-to spot when it comes to oil changes as well. So don't wait any longer. Get that oil change today by giving ASAP Used Auto Parts a call 715-514-4501. We got it is an ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. Last call for some of those because we'll get to some of them coming up just past 8 o'clock before we get to Mr. R.J. Cardinal. Threw out a question for some Packers fans. Is Josh Jacobs, what he has been able to do for this ball club this season, has he surpassed your expectations a little bit? And wide majority saying yes. Just to go through a few of the textures here. This one's from Dave. Dave saying that I had high expectations for Josh Jacobs this year, but it's easily that he has exceeded those expectations for me. Never would have thought that the Packers would be a top 3 rushing team in the league. Josh Jacobs has been a big-time stud and has led the Packers to multiple victories alone so far this season. Kyle is saying on the texting line here too, Josh Jacobs has definitely exceeded expectations. I was one of those that was disappointed to see Aaron Jones leave for Josh Jacobs, but he has proven me wrong, and this Packers offense with its dedication to the run has proven me wrong this year. Josh Jacobs says Greg has led this team to a few wins by himself. So, yes, he has surpassed my expectations. Keep those coming. All right. You can keep hitting us up with text or tweets or comment on the video stream. Kind of an informal poll question of the day. Has Josh Jacobs exceeded your expectations from what you have seen so far from him this season? He's going to win MVP? No, he's not. Saquon Barkley might win MVP. That dude has been on a tear. I mean, Saquon Barkley. You talk about running backs with new homes this year. Think about it. Running backs with new homes, first year with a new team. Your top 3 rushers, all in the first year of their new team. Saquon, first year with Philly, 1,392 yards, 1,392 yards. Derrick Henry, first year with his new team, 1,325. Josh Jacobs, third in the league in rushing, first year with the Packers. Those 3, and then you throw in Aaron Jones, who's with the Vikings. He's 8th in the league in rushing. Joe Mixon, longtime Bengal with the Texans this year. He's 9th in rushing. So yeah, maybe so. It's kind of the year of new chances, new homes, whatever. I mean, these guys, these running backs, for one, getting kind of a second stint going with a new team, and they're having some pretty darn successful years. I'll even throw Tony Pollard in there, for crying out loud. Dallas probably wishes they never let him go. Tony Pollard's with the Titans this year, and he's 7th in the league in rushing. But you look at it, so the weird thing, I don't know if this is a weird thing, but you look at the amount of attempts too. So Saquon in 11 games, 223 attempts. They're riding that guy, and they should. I mean, he's averaging 6.2 yards per carry. But 11 games, 223 attempts. Derrick Henry has played in 12 games, so one more game, and he's got 2 fewer attempts. Derrick Henry. But Derrick Henry's also averaging 6 yards a carry too. Josh Jacobs is actually almost 20. In fact, he's 21, has 21 fewer rushing attempts than Saquon Barkley. I know that's not a big amount, but that's about a game's worth, and they've both played 11 games. I guess I would have thought that would have been closer for as much as we saw Josh Jacobs there, but irregardless, you look at what Saquon Barkley's doing this year. How is he not mentioned more in terms of MVP conversations. I mean, this guy, 223 carries, first in the league. 1,392 rushing yards, first in the league. 10 touchdowns, tied for fourth in the league. Receiving wise, he also has 257 receiving yards and 2 touchdown catches. If you're a Giants fan, I'm sorry. Because your offseason, you lost Saquon Barkley. You let him go. And he goes to the division rival, and he's having an MVP year. And you let Xavier McKinney go to Green Bay, and he's got 7 picks so far this year. And now you have no idea what you're doing at your quarterback position. I mean, football in New York, outside of Buffalo, but with the Jets and the Giants, you've got 2 franchises right now that are spiraling. They don't have their quarterback. They've made some incredibly poor personnel decisions, roster decisions, kind of on the opposite ends of the spectrum a little bit, whereas this last offseason, the Jets and even into this year, trying to get everybody and anybody, and that ain't working. Giants letting go of their best players, young players for whatever reason, and Saquon and Xavier McKinney. I mean, if you're a New York football fan, again, outside of the Bills, but with the Giants and the Jets, it's bad. I mean, it is really, really bad. Can you think of another team that lost 2 players to free agency that have had such huge impacts in year ones with their new team? I'm sure there is. But it's just like Giants fans just got to be sitting there saying, what are we doing? What's going on here? Man. Couple more texts to get to here. We've got with Josh Jacobs, the receiver deferred. Josh Jacobs has been the MVP of the team so far. That's from Eric. I think you can make a case for it. He'd probably get my vote, honestly. He probably would. Just saw this from Zach Cruz. Josh Jacobs has a run of 10-plus yards on the Packers' first possession in 7 games this season. That's pretty fantastic over there, too. You're starting to see a lot of Josh Jacobs' stats and numbers really pop up, especially after that game against the Niners. I mean, he was the first running back in 55 games to rush over 100 yards against the Niners defense. He had forced like 15 missed tackles. I mean, that guy was just you look at it, it's like, okay, you got over 100 yards there. But, I mean, those were some tough yards to come by, too. This guy has been phenomenal. It's kind of like a Mighty Mouse guy. He's not the biggest running back in the world in terms of height. It's kind of like a Mighty Mouse guy. 15 missed tackles. Dude's got a sweet spin move that reminds you of playing like Madden. He's also top 3 in the NFL in yards after contact, 10-plus yards, and hasn't missed a single game so far this year. I forgot about that. Oh, thanks to Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers. He tweeted this out yesterday. Kind of forgot about it. It's the Joe Barry game on Thursday. Remember, Joe Barry is the linebackers coach for the Dolphins. He's also the run game coordinator, and as Matt Schneidman posted, Josh Jacobs has met his match. Josh Jacobs versus Joe Barry. How is Joe Barry going to help stop the Packers running offense there? It's the Joe Barry game. Joe Barry's back in Green Bay. Forgot about that. Kind of forgot about that. No, I think this is going to be a fantastic matchup between the Dolphins and the Packers. 2 teams that are playing some good football right now. Miami's obviously playing a lot better with Tua back in the equation there. We know about their speed with the receivers of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I don't think Jair is going to play. I don't think he's going to play in this one. You look at Miami overall, numbers wise, offensively, about half, a little past half the average in terms of league and total yards per game. In terms of passing yards per game, I mean they're again they're only averaging 207 yards, but a lot of that time too was without Tua in there. So I don't think you can really look at a lot of their games. Yeah, I think you got to look more recently at their last 3 games here, and you look at the Patriots in that Patriots game where they put up 34 points. I mean, that was kind of like what we expected from the Dolphins this year. Tua over 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Waddle had 144 yards receiving. And then, the Raiders game the week before, Tua almost 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. So there's no question this is more of that Dolphins team that I think, we had expected at the beginning of the year. Defensively, though, for the Dolphins here, when you break it down, remember they had Vic Fangio last year and just decided that it wasn't a good fit. And so far, the Dolphins defense, they're a top 10 unit in yards allowed per game. In fact, they are they're 6th best. 6th best in yards allowed per game. They're top 10 in passing yards allowed per game, 197.5 they're only allowing through the air. Rushing defense. Okay, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're 9th. They're 9th in the league in rushing defense, 106.9. So, I mean, they're top 10 in a lot of areas. No question about it. Points allowed per game, they're right around Green Bay, about middle of the pack, 21.5. So when you think about Miami, you think about the speed on the outside. You think about Waddle and Tyreek. But maybe one of the more underrated aspects so far has been kind of their defensive play. Their defensive play a little bit. It's been pretty darn solid. I'm excited for this matchup, though. I think it's going to be a really good one. And I think it's going to be about ball control, time of possession. Can Green Bay win that time of possession battle against Miami, not allowing Miami's offense to get on the field a whole lot, limit those possessions, have those 7, 8-minute drives, keeping Tua, keeping Tyreek, keeping, Waddle, all those guys on the sidelines. Can Green Bay control the clock? They were doing a fantastic job with that against San Francisco, especially in the first half there. I mean, it was fantastic. And Green Bay ended up, 36, almost 37 minutes. 37 minutes, almost 37 minutes of total possession in that game against San Francisco. Can they do something similar to that against Miami? I hope it's cold. I hope it's cold. And now Miami's probably like, hey, we went through the cold against Kansas City last year in that playoff game. So anything's probably nothing, they'll say. But I hope it's cold, and I hope it's a Josh Jacobs run fest in that cold weather. I know, short week. The other thing, though, too, I saw somebody mention this, and I can't remember where it came from. I thought it was an interesting point. With a short week here, Miami's got one of the oldest teams, if not the oldest team in the league, in terms of average age. Green Bay's got the youngest team in average age. Is that something that could come into play on a short week? Younger legs in Green Bay, a little older legs in Miami, and then they got to be the ones to travel to a colder environment than what they're used to. Maybe that's a little bit of an advantage for Green Bay. But I never thought of it that way, too, with the younger age and fresher legs and that sort of thing with Green Bay, too. Maybe, possibly. We'll see how it plays out. We'll talk more about this game coming up tomorrow, though, for Wednesday, because it'll be our final program before the game. So we'll have like a little football Friday on a Wednesday. All right, 2 in, 1 more to go. We got some grind my gears. Last call. Text us. What's grinding your gears? And then Badger chat with RJ Cardinal. He's He's coming up in about 20 minutes. Final hour on this Tuesday morning coming at you. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. We've got plenty of Badger chat coming up. RJ Cardinal's going to be joining us here in about 15 minutes or so. We'll talk some Badger football. Badger's going to be wrapping up their regular season. We'll see if they get a postseason here with a bowl game. But wrapping it up Friday, a little Black Friday football action going up against the Gophers for the Battle of the Axe. So we'll talk to RJ Cardinal. Talk about that game. Talk about the Nebraska loss over there too. Holy moly. So throw some hoops chat in there. Got some hockey and all that fun stuff. All that fun stuff. So Badger chat coming up with RJ Cardinal here in about 15-ish minutes, 15-ish minutes. So, taking your Grind My Gears on this ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. Let's get to a few of them, shall we? We've got Matt saying what's grinding my gears is 49ers fans making excuses for their loss against the Packers. Yep, you didn't have your starting quarterback. Well, neither did Green Bay a couple times this year, and we still won. Take the L and move on. Go Pack, go. We've got Ben saying, another hunter saying, what's grinding my gears is the lack of deer I'm seeing so far. Hopefully it gets better later in the week. We've got another texter saying what grinds my gears is what grinds my gears is another one saying everybody saying that the 49ers lost that game more than Green Bay winning it. Seems like a lot of people are just making excuses, but if the Packers had been in that position where they had a bunch of guys missing and they would have lost, you wouldn't have heard a bunch of excuses coming from national talking heads. Okay. What else do we got here? We got another Grind My Gears. Grind My Gears is what does that say? We got to talk to text. Okay, I'm going to have to Greg, if you're listening, try resending that because I'm not sure what that one means. Anyways, moving on here. Grind My Gears. This one is from Nathan. Nathan is saying what's grinding my gears is that everybody is so in love with the Lions, saying they are unbeatable and nobody is going to take them down. Well, you just wait. We've got plenty of games left to go here. Let the overconfidence continue to roll. The Packers are going to take down the Lions. We'll see, man. But yeah, I know that question is that question's been thrown out there a lot from the national peeps. Can anybody catch the Lions? I think the Lions have the division. There's no question about it, but unless something happens here in the next few weeks here. But yeah, I know that's a big question going on around the NFC that a lot of people assume it's going to be Detroit and kind of forget that Philadelphia is right behind them. We'll see if Green Bay kind of gets on a roll here. It's not about how you start. It's about how you finish, right? Another texter coming in here. What grinds my gears is Luke Fickell, and that's all they say. Another texter here said that what grinds my gears is this Badger football team is so painful to watch. How does this defense go from nearly stopping the Oregon offense to allowing 44 points against Nebraska? It's pitiful. It's embarrassing. It's shameful. Can't stand watching this program. Jeremy saying, grind my gears. If you hunt in the county forest and see someone sitting somewhere first, don't sit 40 yards away from them. Find a different spot. Another texter here saying, what grinds my gears is Chris McIntosh for not hiring Jimmy Leonard and hiring Luke Fickell as his head coach. Big Worm also saying, morning, but I believe the weather is going to have a huge factor in the game. 20 degrees with 10 to 15 mile per hour winds. Tua isn't a cold weather guy. Stop the run is the key to victory. Love the show. Happy Turkey Day, everyone. So Packers are sitting there at 8-3, right? I was thinking about this the other day, and we talked about it during the bye week. Like, what's that record got to be for Green Bay to at least get into postseason? Like, back in the day, it was always like, get to 10 wins. And you heard teams talk about it as one of their goals, get to 10 wins. Because if you get to 10 wins when it was a 16-game season, 10 wins was kind of like you're feeling good about your chance to get into the postseason. So that was always like one of the first goals. And it was like winning the division and then maybe, getting a top seed so you get a bye or home field advantage. You had those different goals, those different levels there. Well, now we know it's odd because you got 17 games in. So 10 games may not, sometimes it will be enough. I mean, last year Green Bay made it with 9. But given with the NFC, I kind of thought, okay, 11 at that point would make me feel at least okay. I think now 11 is a for sure lock. Not to get overconfident or anything like that, but I think if Green Bay in their final 2, 4, 6 games can win at least half of those, I hope it's more, but if they can win at least half of those to get them to 11, I'm feeling good. They got a little bit more space now in terms of who's right behind them, with the Cowboys defeating the Commanders. Commanders are that 7th seed right now because if the playoffs started today, Green Bay would be the 6th seed. Commanders would be the 7th. Minnesota's the 5th. Green Bay's, game behind Minnesota, but Minnesota holds the tiebreaker because Minnesota beat Green Bay. But it's kind of, with after the Commanders, you've got Arizona at 6-5, and then Tampa Bay's at 5-6. I feel, not to get too confident, but I feel really good right now about Green Bay's chances to get into the postseason in these final 6. I think you win at least 3, you're locked in there, but yeah, a couple weeks ago, I was still kind of nervous, like, okay, there's not a whole lot of room for error. I think there's a little bit more room for error for just getting in. There's not a whole lot of room for error if you want to try to climb up and try to catch Detroit or even Minnesota to get a 5 spot over there. But here's the other thing, too. It's like, I think if it's Minnesota or Green Bay finishing in that 5 or 6, I think those two teams may be favored on who they play wild card weekend. I know I'm getting ahead of myself. Playoffs don't start till January. But the way things are lining up right now, so Detroit would have the bye. Philadelphia would take on Washington. Philadelphia's a 2, Washington's a 7. Seattle's a 3 seed as of right now. This NFC West, though, is far from being decided. Seattle would take on Green Bay, and we're actually going to see that here in a couple weeks. And then you got Atlanta would be taking on Minnesota. Atlanta leading their way. I think the one team that I probably would not want to play in a wild card. There's a couple I think I'd really not want to play in the wild card round. And I don't really want to get into this, but just kind of looking at it right now, Philadelphia with their running attack. If you can avoid being the 7th seed and avoid playing Philadelphia, I'd be good with that. I'd still get nervous playing San Francisco. If San Francisco wins the division, if they win that division, I'd still get a little nervous about playing San Francisco in the postseason. Because I'm assuming everybody's going to be healthy at that point. Brock Purdy's going to be healthy. Bosa's going to be healthy. Brandon Ayuk, we know, is not coming back this year. You still got Kittle. Still got Debo. So I'd be a little nervous still if San Francisco gets in there and wins that division. I have no idea who's going to win that NFC West. No freaking clue. No freaking clue. But I'd be all about just, no, let's keep San Francisco out of there. And San Francisco, they got Buffalo coming up here. Even if they do get Brock Purdy back and some of their guys back, that is a tough game. Then they got to go to Miami, and they still got to play the Lions coming up here too. So there's a shot that maybe we can knock them out. I don't know who started this rumor, by the way, on social media about Kyle Shanahan being on the hot seat. You know how many teams would fire their coaches to hire Kyle Shanahan? And the one team I would not want him to go to would be the Bears. I don't know where this started. I don't know if somebody it's stupid social media stuff where it goes out there. This is the thing that grinds my gears too. Whether it's these Facebook fan pages or these blogs that write stupid headlines that have nothing to do or over-exaggerate, and people buy into it. And even before, first of all, if they don't even want to click the stupid thing, don't click the stupid thing, but don't believe everything you read on the internet. Like these stupid headlines like, oh, you know what I'm talking about, like on Facebook or Twitter. But if somebody put something out there like this Kyle Shanahan thing, like, oh, maybe on the hot seat, and people are running with that, just stop. We got to stop taking, bits and pieces or just a little bit of that headlines out there and making something out of nothing. It's so annoying. You know what? I think you know what I'm talking about too. Like when you're on Facebook, there's some like, oh, little drama in between, Green Bay and Matt LaFleur and star player, and then you if you read it, it's like one quote that's completely not even drama. It's that Matt LaFleur said they need he's needs better reps or something. It's just so minute, but people tend to just, it's frustrating. You know what else is frustrating? This Badger football team. Frustrating performance against Nebraska this past weekend. One more game on the docket, going up against the Gophers. Badgers win, they become bowl eligible. Maybe some Badger fans don't want the Badgers to become bowl eligible here. But can the Badgers get the axe, get Paul Bunyan's axe? We got a Black Friday game. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some hoops. Badger basketball team remaining undefeated so far on the season. Throw a little hockey, throw a little volleyball talk, and all that good stuff. Quick break. We'll be back here in just a couple minutes.
Expect excellence in every seed. Why? Because we expect excellence in every seed. For 6 generations, we've done extensive testing across the Midwest and Great Plains to select the best drought and disease-resistant varieties. This testing, plus our investment in genetic research and state-of-the-art seed processing, result in better yields. Don't leave your seed to chance. Let us help you find the right seed for your growing conditions. Rank Seed. Results since 1846.
Flo here from Progressive to tell you how you get more than great savings with us. You get customer service access through our mobile app, online chat, or by phone.
That's a lot of ways I can get in touch with you. I see what's going on here. You can't name favorites, but I'm your #1 customer.
Actually, we offer all our customers these ways to contact us.
I'm sure you give just any customer your personal
company
contact info.
Well, you did call us more than any other customer this year. So in that sense, you are our #1 customer.
Get help from Progressive through the website, app, chat, or phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So you've got an oil change coming up. You can go farther and save on full synthetic with our oil change special. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Advanced Full Synthetic with an STP Extended Life oil filter for just $33.99. Get the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
89 miles from here is Rochester, Minnesota. I know, but Lasker's has 2 other stores in Rochester.
And one of the stores is leaving its downtown location and opening a new store downtown.
In Rochester.
So they're having a huge sale right now.
I know, and we said, what about Eau Claire?
What about Eau Claire?
So we decided we'd have we're not going anywhere, but the other store is. So we're having a sale.
What?
You're going to save big on jewelry when you need it most.
1 carat lab grown diamond studs originally $11.99, now $5.99. Gold hoop earrings once $2.99, now $1.49.
Our downtown Rochester store is moving, so all Lasker's stores are having a sale. It's a great time to visit Lasker's, but we think you should visit us in Eau Claire.
Eau Claire, Eau Claire, Eau
And if you're ever in Rochester, you should visit our other stores too.
Lasker's, across from Oakwood Mall, and Laskers.com.
How many of you listening right now have younger kids? Okay. Now, how many of you have hardwood floors in your home? All right, quite a few of you. Now, here's a simple equation for you. Hardwood floors plus younger, energetic kids equals black marks, wear and tear, multiple different things. The point is, your floors can take a beating, especially if you have younger kids playing around or even riding their bike around the house. Hey, don't ask. I know from experience. And we don't want to stop our kiddos from having fun, but we also don't want to ruin our floors. So what do? Easy. Go take a visit to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. The entire team there will help you select the best floor that fits your needs. perhaps even some Rigid Max flooring that is scratch, dent, and impact resistance that's unmatched in the industry. So what are you waiting for? Get that new floor today from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and take comfort in knowing your new floor can handle those energetic kids.
There aren't many people as sports smart as he is, so he tries to use tiny words so people like me can easily follow along.
That doesn't make sense.
The Dan Casper Show.
Bring 'em out, bring 'em out. Bring 'em out, bring 'em out. Bring 'em out, bring 'em out. Bring 'em out, bring 'em out.
Let's jump right into it. We got plenty to catch up on and preview and recap and maybe we'll grind our gears about because it is a ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. And quite a few of you, well, grinding your gears about this Badger football team and head coach Luke Fickell. So let's bring in our Badger expert, Mr. RJ Cardinal, joining us here this morning. RJ, I got to imagine, I don't want to speak for you, but a lot of people grinding their gears about what they saw Saturday, a defensive performance where the week prior had a really good game against Oregon, and then they followed up by allowing 44 points to Nebraska, man. What the heck? I mean,
right?
I don't know what else to say, and I don't know what else we can really say that we haven't already said throughout this whole season, but holy moly, what the heck happened in that game?
Well, you gave up the most points Nebraska has scored this year. The only other teams that allowed more points than this against Nebraska are not Power 5 teams or an FCS team. So you had a very bad performance. Once again, couldn't stop the run to save your life. I think the difference between Oregon and Nebraska is Oregon wasn't really trying to run all that much. And even when they did, they had some success, but still one of those offenses that's more leaning pass and taking care of things that way, which has been a stronger suit for this Wisconsin defense because you're putting a lot. Yeah, I mean, outside of that, there's no excuse for what happened on the defensive side of the ball. The running back who went for 113 yards was averaging 59 a game. That's just not acceptable. Like that's turned in your papers kind of stuff. And I'm not sure that's going to happen. We've talked about that because of the way the relationship Tressel and Fickell have, and it's just unacceptable what we saw on Saturday. Offensively, Braden Locke looked a lot better. The rushing attack, could have been better. Saturday just was one of those final straw kind of games of the lack of discipline, the coaching staff not being situationally aware. When you scored in the fourth quarter and were then down, you were down 24 at the time. You scored and only went for the PAT rather than a 2-point conversion to make it a 16-point 2-score game, and you left it at 3 scores. It let me know everything that was going on Saturday. The coaching staff wasn't prepared at all for what they saw from a Dana Holgorsen-led offense that, he doesn't – they talked about it most of the game. Doesn't care who a player is, still is calling people by their numbers because he doesn't know their names. He's been there 3 weeks. And he's putting in people he sees in practice that are going to make that team better. So there are guys who have now hit the transfer portal or are announcing their intentions to hit the transfer portal when it opens at Nebraska because Nebraska is moving forward in a way that is going to be beneficial to them. We might be at a point where we were in a position much like Nebraska was 20 some odd years ago when they fired Frank Solich, and a guy who was averaging 9 wins a season, making major bowl games, making New Year's Six bowl games. And I know it was a different time, but making bowl games and being a banner of consistency. And we might be at the beginning of that point. The recruiting is going well, but those guys aren't playing for one reason or another. We see 4-star kids as freshmen playing at other schools. I don't understand why that can't happen at Wisconsin. It hasn't happened under most regimes here, but everybody seems to think 4-star athletes can't start playing right away. And that includes fans who still are saying, give him time to get his own guys in here. I mean, his guys are here. You got 2 cycles of transfers, 2 cycles of recruits, and the bare cupboards that were under Christ, 8 of the starters, I think I heard a stat, were still Christ guys. And I mean, people want to point to that. Well, if they're still starters, why are we talking about him not having his people here yet if old Christ recruits are being the starters here? I mean, you can't have it both ways. Either his guys are here or his guys aren't good enough. And I would think in really 4 cycles, I guess you could kind of say it, because you have 2 classes in each. I would think something would be there defensively by now. Offensively, I know we had a change at coordinator. They were huddling up. I think Braden Locke said it was the first time he's huddled in his career. People had wristbands on. It was more of a offense that, I mean, still what we've seen, but, you know, I think they needed a huddle for the sake of everybody.
Yeah.
To move forward. But, yeah, I mean, missing some people on offense as well. It seems to be the theme of the Luke Fickell era so far. Injuries, but we'll see what happens this week. Defensively, I'm not too optimistic, since you're actually going to have a running back who can run and be a pass catcher out of the backfield. But as I think many people thought last Saturday was rock bottom, I still think this program has, and it sounds bad to say, they can go deeper than what we saw Saturday.
Running out of words to describe it now, aren't we? I mean, it's at that point. So
I mean, you had Luke Fickell at the end of it say he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know what's going on, you're part of the issue. And if you need to change personnel, go ahead and do it. If changes need to be made, make them. That's all we're asking.
Right. Yeah. Did we find out what happened, or what was the issue with him and Raiola, the assistant coach, former Badger? I'm sure that video that was going around with that weird altercation after the game.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I know I've seen some people get feelers out. I haven't talked to Zach Heilprin yet, our sports director here, but I'm not sure he's heard yet what's going on. Not sure why a cop got involved in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way people turned around, I mean, I could say he might have had some former Wisconsin pride come out.
Right.
And, said something along those lines. Because I think he was still there when Chris came back and was offensive coordinator, or he was at least tight ends coach. Raiola was here. But when I saw it and the heads whipped back, like it was more or less of I think he took a dig at and name a coach or whatever. But I mean, it had to have been more than that to cause a cop to turn around and run after him. So who really knows? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if something ever comes of that for
Mhm.
what was said.
Exactly. So I mean, RJ, a lot of people are wondering, could it just be after the season's done with Luke Fickell's done? I think he's back for at least one more year. But what I mean, would you say that regardless of what happens against Minnesota, is it safe to say that he is back, or if they have another big time domination game, kind of like what Nebraska just did to Wisconsin, is it possible Luke Fickell could not be back next year?
I don't see how the athletic director can afford that right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's also getting attacked on a different front where he has torn down the shell on campus, which housed the indoor track facility. So right now, the track and field team, rather than having an indoor track, is having to practice at the outdoor track until snow starts flying. So the track team, men's and women's track team, are taking this as he's quietly trying to get rid of the program. So he can't afford any more bad publicity for his own job's sake. So I think one way or another, Fickell is making it a majority of his contract, because I believe it's a pretty big buyout too right now. And he already just paid $11 million to Chris 2 years ago. Don't want to be paying another guy to get out of here, and he'll be starting at square one with this team again. I mean, still could be starting at square one depending on how many people enter that transfer portal this off season, which I forget when it opens now. I know they changed the date, so it's one of those things. It's kind of hard to follow, but what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he's still around. He'll be allowed to make his changes. Haven't heard a situation of I think we already would have heard he would have been dismissed already if there'd been a situation like there was between Chris and McIntosh, but it doesn't appear that's happened. So, made a change. We're making a change at offensive coordinator. If you have another blowout on your hands, you have to seriously consider getting rid of one of your best friends as defensive coordinator,
Mm-hmm.
or forcing him to change the style of defense we're going to be running. It's one of those, going through years, I don't remember a defense being successful in the Big Ten that had more DBs on the field than linebackers and D linemen combined. And who knows, maybe they're running this out of necessity because of the lack of depth at the defensive line. But really, something's got to change. And there are certain teams you don't have to respect the past for. We didn't really respect the run of Nebraska, and they watched film all year, I think. So they knew they could run on us, and they did.
Talk more about the Gopher game coming up here, but move to a positive thing. This Badger basketball team remains undefeated after winning the Greenbrier tip-off tournament, which, that was in a hotel ballroom, it looked like, RJ. I never would have expected it. Some of the photos and videos I saw there, I was like, really? That's where we're having a tip-off tournament? But anyways.
And then you even had a stage at one end. So it kind of reminded me of, some of the rural area gyms that also double as auditoriums.
Right. And then championship game, the shot clock wasn't even working, so the PA announcer had to go count it down for everybody. It was
the weird thing is, I feel like I couldn't hear that on the broadcast, so maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention.
Mm-hmm.
But people are like, "Oh, I could hear it." I'm like, I don't think I could.
Yeah, I couldn't really either. But then I saw everybody's on Twitter was talking about it. So
yeah, and I know on the broadcast they mentioned they had to do it because the game was first delayed by a 3 overtime game.
Yeah,
and then then it was delayed even further as they were trying to fix the shot clock. And I know they were explaining how that was going to go down, but it's still kind of funny that somebody had to be like 10, 5, 4, 3. But pretty crazy deal there. Good tournament. It puts especially that second game against Pitt. Wisconsin now is the only school in the country to have 2 wins over Ken Palm top 25 teams. I forget, there's 20 some who have 1 versus 1 team. and Wisconsin is the only one with 2. So good things happening so far. Still scoring 79-plus points a game for the first time ever in program history through the first 7 games or through however many games. It's going to keep happening until we finally see the stat. This is the first time Wisconsin has scored under 79 points this year.
Yeah.
Oh,
we already had a couple people mention that yeah, the 79-point thing. So
yeah. You're seeing John Tanji being all that in a bag of potatoes.
Yeah.
And to think he wasn't getting a bunch of offers due to an injury last year, because he went from Colorado State to Mizzou, got a medical red shirt. Like here in Madison, we had a couple of callers be like, well, just wait till he shuts it down in the second half. So because some other schools contacting him about playing there next year. Well, I got some good news for people. He's technically a grad student now. So,
right.
He's not going anywhere else. And as he's playing better, if his goal is to get to the NBA, he's doing pretty well for himself. 63 from the free throw line this year, and looking like a upgrade over AJ Storr, which a lot of people didn't think could happen, mostly because they pointed to where he was last and saying, why can Wisconsin only get these group of 5 teams or these mid-major guys to come on here? Well, they have to be pretty cost efficient, and the system has changed a little bit. There's still some structure you can see of the swing with the cutting of anybody towards the hoop and playing from the outside in, but it's opening up a little more. And I think guard, as the talent came in, and we saw it with the Final Four run, Bo Ryan tweaked things a little bit with the swing offense, and Greg Gard is doing that too by allowing outside of the system to take more threes. There's still opening of the floor and making those cutters, being able to get to the line, and they're getting to the line a lot more than they have in the past now, and they're making a lot more of those free throws. So it's one of those things where we didn't see Wisconsin doing a lot of, where they were taking more threes, but at the expense of going inside and getting fouled. And now they're doing that. And we're seeing, I think, the evolution of the swing to what Greg Gard wants to run. And if you're a wing now watching Wisconsin play, and you see, because it's not like AJ Storr was bad here, but I mean, Wisconsin's starting to run a system, I think, that could be a little more appealing to not just transfer guys, but some high schoolers coming out of direct as 18-year-olds.
So Chicago State coming up at the back end of this week. I'm looking forward to that Marquette game. I think that's going to be a fantastic matchup between these two teams.
Yeah, and that'll be their third top 25 10-pound opponent, so they'll have a good challenge there. And I mean, if Marquette gets a win there, I think they already have a win over, I think, Purdue top 20. Yeah. So either way, somebody in that matchup is adding another quality win to their record. And it's one of those you'd like to see the other two Wisconsin schools in Milwaukee and Green Bay do well as well. And this can be a basketball state. I think it has been. But I mean, look at the amount of talent that's going elsewhere, because they're not really going to Marquette either. So it's definitely a good year for Wisconsin basketball. And I know it'll make Marquette's year if they end up beating Wisconsin, because they've had a couple of NCAA runs and lost to Wisconsin, a less superior Wisconsin team. And I think Greg Gard is undefeated for Shaka Smart right now.
Oh, wow.
So I think I heard that as we're getting near the game, because I know he's not undefeated in general versus Wisconsin, but I think versus Shaka Smart he is.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I might have to go check my facts there,
Right.
and then I'm pretty sure somebody will call me out for that if I'm wrong. So that's just me scrolling through Twitter and seeing that before I got on air with you. So hopefully that person was right, because I don't even know who they were. But it's nice to see the changing of the guard,
Pun intended.
with this team, and seeing the evolution of the offense to kind of go along with the rest of college basketball. Now, we have seen defense take a little back step, but if you can score, you're going along with the rest of the country here, who are playing in close, high-scoring games.
Who would have thought, RJ? I threw this out earlier, but who would have thought, if you go back to, let's say, January, December of 2023 to where we're at now, and we would have said maybe Greg Gard and the Badger basketball team trending way up higher, more than Luke Fickell. I just kind of, when it was announced Luke Fickell was going to be the head coach, and it was like, you felt bad for Jimmy Leonard, but there was like, oh man, we got Luke Fickell to come over. Who'd have thought in just under 2 years it'd be like that Greg Gard's got the higher Q rating right now.
Right. I'd have to say nobody, because even as of July or August, whenever Big Ten Media Days was for basketball, they're picked 12th in the Big Ten. Right now, they're not playing like a 12th place team. Now, granted, they have 2 quality wins, I guess you can say, by Ken Palm rankings, but they're taking care of business against teams that they should be as well. And you can point to a close game versus Rio Grande Valley. You're coming off the heels of upsetting number 9 at the time. So it had the potential. It seems most games they're coming from behind against teams. They were down 14 to Pitt and put 56 points up in the second half to outscore them and pull away near the end. It's a team that has an attitude of never say die. It's like watching the Goonies.
Yeah. Good poll there, man. Good poll. Hey, before we get to your pick for Minnesota, really quick, kind of rapid fire. Volleyball wise, women's team falling to Nebraska this past Saturday, getting swept. Just 2 more matches coming up, including tomorrow night against Ohio State, and then they wrap up the regular season against Michigan State this weekend.
When you're going up against the number 2 team in the country, there were a couple of calls that went the other way. I watched that game, and it's the same kind of thing happened last year, where every call went Nebraska's way in Nebraska. Now, I'm not saying one way or another that Wisconsin was going to pull that one out, but I think there was one of them in set 3. There was one that completely changed the momentum on a touch that wasn't a touch, that swung it. And it was 18-18 at the time. It would have been 19-18. Wisconsin came right back after the call was reversed, scored a point. It would have been 20-18, but they had to battle back and end up tying it at 21. Then Nebraska pulled away, but I think they could have at least taken one of the sets or one of the games. Whichever way it goes.
Yeah.
But I think they could have at least gotten away with one in there rather than getting swept again. It's one of the toughest conferences out there. I think we'll bounce back and be able to take on Ohio State and Michigan State, finish in probably 3rd place in the conference, because I think mathematically now they can't take 2nd, if I'm remembering correctly. It's still setting yourself up for a great chance to be in the NCAA tournament, hopefully on a little bit of run. And if you meet Nebraska in the tournament somewhere, hopefully you can finally solve that riddle. But they're doing very well this year.
Yeah. Hockey wise, I know the men's team had off this past weekend, but they got Alaska Anchorage coming to town this weekend. And on the women's side, they swept St. Thomas and will be now taking on Maine this weekend on the road.
Yeah, men bringing in an old WCHA foe, so hopefully that can be a good matchup and come home. And not really. Hockey game. I know Saturday they're doing a Joe Pavelski night. I'm not sure if that's involving a retirement of his number or just putting his name in the rafters, but he's getting honored on Saturday night. Hopefully, we can get a crowd there, but it's a little bit of a odd timing to have a Joe Pavelski night when students might not necessarily be in town.
Right.
So, yeah, hopefully you can get something going. I mean, you just 2 weeks ago swept Penn State. Hopefully you can keep that momentum going at home and get a sweep of the Seawolves.
Mm-hmm. All right, Battle for the Axe, Black Friday. How do you what's your prediction for this one, man?
Well, with Minnesota being able to run the ball and have a pretty decent mix, I mean, their starting running back has all-purpose yards over 1,000 yards, 730 rush yards. So I mean, they have a competent run game. It has all the points of Wisconsin going 5-7 and having to rely on academic progress rate. I mean, I guess the good thing is they are playing in a lot of close games. I mean, their last non-one score game, either way they went was they blew out Maryland. Other than that, they lost to Iowa 31-14. But I'm kind of leaning the Gophers on this one and putting it at 28-20 Minnesota.
Oh man, not a good Black Friday there, dude. So
no, not at all.
Well, hey, we appreciate it as always, buddy. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and hey, maybe next Tuesday when we're catching up, we'll be talking about potential bowl game and such. Maybe
I would love that.
All right, buddy. You enjoy the week, and we'll catch up soon. Okay.
Sounds good. We will talk to you later.
You got it. RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us here this morning. We got to take a quick break. We got some picks and predicts, including Bucks taking on the Miami Heat tonight. Can the Bucks make it 5 in a row and get to 500 on the season? We'll make that pick coming up after these quick words. before we get to some picks and predicts here, John on our texting line saying, who do you think is the Packers' biggest non-division rival? My personal opinion, I feel like it's 49ers. Packers and Niners have always played each other really well ever since I can remember in the 90s. I think right now it's probably San Francisco. Maybe 10, 11, 12 years ago, maybe Seahawks with the whole Fail Mary and, NFC Championship game and such. It might have been Seattle. Dallas, I think you could throw them in there too in the 90s, part of the 90s there, maybe even a little bit now too, because Green Bay, let's face it, Green Bay's kind of had Dallas at number 2, especially when it got to the playoffs. So I don't know, maybe I think it's probably still between Dallas and San Francisco. Non-division rivals. So you kind of think NFC opponents. Yeah, I'd probably still go Dallas or San Francisco between the two. Now, I think if you ask like fans, who's the team that maybe you, if you're a Packers fan, who's the team that you dislike the most that's not a division team, they probably would say Dallas. I would think, but I'll probably go between those two. I still throw Dallas in there. You go to the 90s, and then even like as of late, I mean, you've got the Aaron Rod. I mean, look at some of the iconic Packers-Cowboys games in the last 10 years too. You can go with the Matt Flynn comeback win against Dallas, the Dez non-catch playoff game, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Cook in that playoff game, and Mason Crosby with the field goal. Last year's playoff game against Dallas, even the year before the regular season game when Dallas came in, Mike McCarthy, his first time back at Green Bay as Dallas coach, Green Bay wins that game. So yeah, I'd throw Dallas into that conversation too. All right, let's do some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. Garrett, I'm not sorry for that Sunday game. Not sorry. Packers getting that W. That felt good. Dominating fashion too. Yeah, picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Looking for somewhere to catch some of the games. Got trivia on Wednesdays too, by the way. But if you're looking for somewhere to catch some of the games, whether it's hoops, football, all that good stuff, head on over to the Elbow Room located right next to the Banbury Place in Eau Claire. We've got some NBA games to pick tonight. Not a ton of games here. Chicago at Washington. By the way, the Bucks are going up against Washington. There's some talk that could be Middleton's debut this weekend. So we'll see if that's going to be the case. I'm going to go Chicago tonight, though. Houston at Minnesota. Minnesota's favored by 3.5. I'll go with the T-Wolves in this one. We got Spurs taking on the Jazz. I'll go Spurs. Lakers taking on the Suns. Ooh. I'm going to go Phoenix. I'll go Phoenix. Minnesota at Milwaukee at Miami. Miami is favored by 2.5. 2.5 in this game. I'm going to go with the Bucks. I like the way they're playing. They've won 4 in a row. Giannis is playing fantastic. I think the Bucks are settled in on what they like in terms of their rotation, their lineups, and such. I'm going to go with the Bucks getting a win tonight, picking up that W, and getting 5 in a row, and then back to 500, 9-9 on the season. Those are your picks and predicts. Again, brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Reminder, in about an hour, a little over an hour, some of us here at the stations of Midwest Family Eau Claire are going to be over at Hy-Vee, handing out some free turkeys to anybody who may need a turkey for this Thanksgiving. No questions asked. Stop by, and if you just need a little help or somebody stopping by, we'll get you a free turkey over there while supplies last. Okay, while supplies last. So 10 a.m. to noon is that time frame today. Tomorrow's our final program for the week. Off on Thursday and Friday. Hopefully, when I come back on Monday, I'll actually have a deer. But tomorrow will be kind of like a football Friday, Wednesday version. We'll talk some Packers and Dolphins leading up to that Thursday night game. I think it's going to be a heck of a good one there. A little fun nugget here, though. If you're making your underdog fantasy picks, you might want to know this one when it comes to some pick'ems with Josh Jacobs. Dolphins, according to Pro Football Focus, third lowest tackle grade. Josh Jacobs just broke 15 tackles against the 49ers. Now he's going up against one of the worst tackling teams in the league. On a short week, colder weather, little bulldozing running back. Could be another good day for Josh Jacobs. Let's do it. We'll break it down more, though, coming up tomorrow and such. Don't forget, with it being a shorter week, too, to get your picks in for our Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge, okay? Head to sportstalk1051.com, click on that Fan Cave tab, and get your picks in. I know this week tends to, sometimes people kind of forget just because it jumps up with the holiday hunting and all that, so don't forget to get your picks in this week for our Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge, again, at sportstalk1051.com. We'll also talk some Badger football with the Gophers and the battle for the axe, although I feel like the enthusiasm from Badger fans, and I get it and I understand it, maybe a little bit down for this game. And then hopefully we're talking about another Bucs win tomorrow at that as well. We'll have some stock reports, so if you want to play along, whose stocks are rising and whose stocks are falling. That's going to do it for us this morning. We'll be back, though, tomorrow to wrap up the week, just past 6 a.m. Don't forget to join in on the conversation, all right? I want to hear from you. Have a good rest of your day. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning. See you then.